Now, welcome everyone to Spin Cycle, a series of reviews, and potentially a blog, if I feel up to it, which I probably won't, so don't get your hopes up. Alright guys, well, welcome to the first episode of Spin Cycle. This is my lair, or my room. It's my lair. You get it. Anyway, so our first review is going to be of the latest installment in the Smash Bros. Series, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Anyway, so let's start with the wash cycle, shall we? The wash cycle consists of the general synopsis, and this, by the way, was suggested by Neon, and I thought it was a fabulous idea, so I'm going with it. Anyway, so the basics are, it's a 2D side-scrolling game, as you probably already know, where you have to try to knock off your opponent. There's no health bars, just a damage meter, which the higher the damage meter goes, the easier it is to knock off your opponent, blah blah blah. The controls are pretty simple, and you can actually screw around with them a lot, and it becomes pretty dynamic after a little while. Yeah, and it got pretty good reviews all around, but there were some really stupid complaints. Like this one, I think it was from IGN, where it said it complained about a fighting game being a side-scroller, and that the story mode was a side-scroller. That's really not that big of a deal, and kind of expected. Anyway, so the differences between this title and the previous ones are, aside from being on the Wii and having four different types of controls, the animation is a lot smoother, and there was the addition of the Smash Ball and Assist Trophies. Assist Trophies are pretty much exactly like Pokeballs, but with more than just Pokemon. Smash Balls just give whatever character you're using a special attack that will most likely kill your opponent with a single use of it. Anyway, so that's the synopsis. Everything basic. My opinion is this game is friggin' awesome. So much fun. And it's supposed to be considered like a groundbreaking game or something because Snake and Sonic are in it. But it was kind of expected that Sonic at least would be in it, considering he was in Sonic and Mario at the Olympic Games. You know, it's kind of a foreshadow. Anyway, so it's pretty good. Could be a little bit better. I mean, some of the characters are a little bit uneven. It's not that bad, all things considered. And some of the things could be changed, like some of the final smashes, like Landmaster? Come on, do you really need a tank? I mean, I know it's easy enough to get away from, but come on, a tank? Fuck. Anyway. One complaint I have about it is mostly not even about the game itself. It's about people who play it and have used glitches like infinite throws and fucking stuff like that. Like, you'll be online, be on Wi-Fi with your little friends playing online there, you know, kind of deal. Sitting with your controller at home, probably have a bag of chips beside you. Just have, I don't know, probably 4-liter jug of Coke right next to you, almost half empty, because you've been chugging away at it all day. Probably have not left the couch. Probably haven't seen outside for 5 days or more. But that's not the point. You're sitting at home, playing some Wi-Fi, and suddenly you're facing this person that does nothing but edge hug in a free-for-all, and just comes up later on when everybody's damaged, and one hit kills you. And you're like, what the hell? You really just want to punch this person, you know? Or am I the only one that feels... Anyway. And some other And another thing, like, people complain about how it's not enough like Melee, and then they hack Brawl to make it more like Melee. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, why not just go play Melee, guys? Because instead of wasting your life hacking a game and making it more like another game, instead of just playing said game, you know, if you're actually figuring out how to do this different shit, why not just make something? For Christ's sake, if you're gonna spend that much time on something, do something productive. Anyway, and another thing that was brought to my attention recently about Melee and was carried on to Brawl is tiers. And remember, kids, tiers are for queers. Yeah, because I use a lower character tier as my main, Sonic, and for some reason I find him completely useful against everything, including top tier characters like, I don't know, like Marth or something. Like, I kill Marth players like nothing else. Like, nobody's business, man. It's like, easy. But for some reason, people are so hung up on tiers that if you play as a certain character, they just won't face you because they're fucking weird. So, anyway, on to a different topic. Pros and cons. The story mode is a lot better than in the last one, because it actually has a story. One thing that I wish they would have put in is a little bit more description and detail into the plot line, and a little bit more depth. But considering it has no dialogue, it was done really well. For a story mode that only has visual effects, it was pretty much a masterpiece. There's not a lot much they could do without adding dialogue. But personally, I think the story mode could have been a little bit longer and a tad bit more complex, but other than that, it was pretty much dead on for what they could be doing with it. Some other pros and cons. Well, I already mentioned the Landmaster. Hate the Landmaster. Just saying. Seriously. Kind of hate the Star Fox characters in general. But that's just me. Anyway. So some other things that are good and bad about it. Let's think, shall we? So, I guess that concludes my review. Basically, to sum it all up, it's a good game. It's a really good game. There's a few things that could be changed around just like a little bit, but other than that, it's pretty well hit the nail on the head. Pretty well. The only thing I wish didn't exist at all that had to do with Brawl were the people that complain a lot about it and abuse glitches. But that may just be me. Anyway, so this is the end of spin cycle number 1. I might take another crack at Brawl after I get a better feel for this whole reviewing thing. But right now, I'm feeling pretty good about this first one. So I think I'm going to say sayonara for now. As is my den. My sword. My random stuff. My lair says goodbye, and so do I. I know, I ramble, don't say anything. In fact,